Memo, a shepherd with a developmental disability, lived a simple and quiet life in a small Turkish village. Despite his challenges, Memo was a loving father to his young daughter, Ova. They shared a deep bond, one that was filled with love and understanding. Ova was Memo's entire world, and he was hers. Despite the challenges they faced, they found joy in the little things, like spending time together and enjoying the beauty of their surroundings. Memo was often misunderstood by the villagers due to his condition, but Ova always saw the goodness in her father. She loved him unconditionally and was fiercely protective of him. Together, they navigated life's challenges with grace, finding happiness in each other's company. One day, while Memo was out tending to his flock, he encountered a young girl, Seda, the daughter of a high-ranking military officer. In a tragic accident, Seda fell from a cliff while playing near the edge, and despite Memo's desperate attempts to save her, she lost her life. When the villagers arrived, they found Memo with the girl's lifeless body. Due to his condition and the circumstances, they quickly assumed the worst. Memo, unable to fully understand the gravity of the situation, was accused of murder and was arrested. Despite his innocence, he was taken away from Ova and thrown into prison. Memo was placed in cell number 7, a cell that housed some of the most dangerous criminals in the prison. At first, his cellmates were hostile and suspicious of him, believing the accusations against him. However, as they got to know Memo, they realized that he was not the monster they had imagined. His innocence and childlike nature began to win them over, and they started to see him as a friend rather than a criminal. The turning point came when Memo saved one of his cellmates during an accident, proving his kindness and courage. This act earned him the respect and loyalty of his fellow inmates, who began to rally around him. The bond between Memo and his cellmates grew stronger, and they began to feel a deep sense of injustice over his imprisonment. They devised a daring plan to reunite Memo with his daughter, Ova, knowing how much they both needed each other. With the help of a sympathetic prison guard, Askaroslu, they managed to smuggle Ova into the prison. The reunion between father and daughter was filled with joy and tears. Ova's presence brought light and hope into the dark world of cell number 7, and the other inmates were touched by the deep love between them. For a brief moment, Memo and Ova were able to be together again, finding solace in each other's arms despite the harsh realities surrounding them. Memo's trial was a tense and emotional affair. The military officer, Seda's father, was determined to see Memo punished for the death of his daughter. The odds were stacked against Memo, especially with the powerful forces arrayed against him. Despite the efforts of his cellmates and the prison guard who had come to believe in his innocence, Memo was sentenced to death. The verdict devastated Ova and his friends in cell number 7, who knew that Memo was innocent, but were powerless to change the outcome. As Memo's execution date approached, the mood in the prison grew somber. His cellmates, who had come to see him as a brother, were heartbroken. In a final act of love, they tried to convince the authorities to spare Memo's life, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. Memo, sensing the inevitable, made a heartbreaking decision. He asked one of his cellmates, Yusuf, to take care of Ova after he was gone. Yusuf, who was deeply moved by Memo's request, promised to protect Ova and ensure that she was safe. On the day of his execution, Memo faced his fate with quiet dignity. His last thoughts were of Ova, and his only wish was for her to live a happy life. After Memo's death, his cellmates and the prison guard worked to fulfill his final wish. They ensured that Ova was taken care of, and Yusuf, who had been granted an early release, took her under his wing. Years later, Ova, now a young woman, revisited the events of her father's life. She sought justice for Memo, determined to clear his name and reveal the truth. Her efforts paid off when new evidence came to light, proving Memo's innocence. The truth of what happened that tragic day finally came to the surface, and Memo's name was cleared. Ova continued to live her life, carrying with her the memory of her father's love and sacrifice. The story of Memo and Ova became a symbol of love, justice, and the strength of the human spirit. Their bond, unbroken by time or tragedy, remained a beacon of hope for all who knew their story.